So we are going to bring on our first guest, and she is a Christian fiction author. She is multi-published, and Pat has been on the show, but I checked the archives. See, now I have to check our archives to see when they were on before. And she was on in the fall of 2021. That was the last time she was on the show. So that show, this show has been on for a while, and we've had a lot of people who publish a lot of books. They are very, and Pat has been writing books a long time. She's going to tell us exactly how long. And as a matter of fact, when you come on, I want to welcome you, Pat, to Black Authors Matter TV, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
But I wanted to tell you, this is some trivia or that you may not know. I used to edit books for Urban Books.
Oh, okay.
This was a while back. I want to say in the 2000s in there. And I edited a couple of your books. I was the copy editor. I was the last person to read your book. So, yeah. So
full circle.
Yeah. So yeah, that was back in my editing days. I don't do that anymore. I don't have the patience, but
you gotta.
But Rhonda does. If people watching the show are looking for an editor, Rhonda still has that patience.
Okay.
I don't.
It's a little bit, but it's still there a little bit.
Yeah, I'd rather do marketing and promotion in that area.
And authors, we appreciate everything people do for us, from the marketing to the editing to the shout outs to even the invitation here. We are here because of people that care about books and promote us. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And you have a brand new book.
Your stories with us and trusting us with your stories.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now you have a brand new book, Accomplices in Love, and that book came out a couple of weeks ago.
It did.
On the 13th of September. So I've been seeing it on social media, so it's getting out, it's getting around, the word is getting out. Yay. And that's good. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of the new book, just tell us your backstory on when you got started. Because like I said, I was editing your books in the 2000s, and I want to say the first half of the 2000s in there, like from 2000 to 2005, somewhere in there. And so when did you get started exactly?
Well, and how did you get started? This was my first book, Guilty of Love. It came out in 2007.
Okay, all right. So that might have been one of the ones I edited. I don't know. But anyway. Yeah.
I
did. A hardcover?
It is, yes.
Okay. Was it hardcover originally?
No. What I did, because some people are collectors and this is book 14. I put all of them in hardcover on barnesandnoble.com, because on Amazon or KDP, they just give you the front. And right. I wanted people to have the jacket and stuff. Okay. So when I signed the deal with Urban, Joy Sale Jocelyn was my editor, and she believed in the story. And I had no idea that this character would live throughout decades, and now this is his son.
Okay.
That's why it's called The Next Generation, because it's been 17 years and the kids are growing up, and I wanted to keep it true to the Jameson legacy, and he is just like his dad. Handsome, confident, going after the woman he wants, determined, but still having that spiritual aspect that, God, this is what I want. Will you bless me with the desires of my heart? But with this character, he had to know when to advance and when to retreat, because the Jameson man can be overwhelming, and he's just like his daddy, but it is such an honor that people have kept up with the Jamesons. This series is where I put African American genealogy in it. And it's also the series where I'm able to put in the Black history, which takes some research. Can't do it in all the books, but I look forward to game night. People always talk about game night, where there's a competition, Team Kid, Team Park, and they battle their minds and their wits for Black history. So, when I first started off, it was called the Guilty series because I had a 2-book deal. This was my first book, and Talk to Me was my second book. That was my second book. And so then Joycelle Jocelyn said, well, who killed Grandma Beebe? I'm like, I don't know. She was really never, ever supposed to be part of the story, except for her comedy relief with her Stacey Adams shoes, gun-toting grandma that didn't have kids. And that took a life of its own that I had to create stories and make sure there was room for her. And that character was so fun to write because whatever came to my mind, I put on paper. And so after Guilty of Love, there was Not Guilty, Still Guilty. You could see how creative I was with the title because I really did not prepare for that. But after that, Moody picked up the series and they changed it to the Jameson Legacy, which really fits. But as a new author, there's so many things I didn't even consider. And so from there, the story was about the brothers, and it's to the point where I had to start listing all the kids in the books because even though people were keeping up with them, they're like, oh yeah, I remember Cammie, I remember, blank, blank, blank. And so I try to keep the title in conjunction with the Guilty series, like Accomplices in Love, which the title originally was supposed to be with them going behind people's back and being accomplices for their love story. And as I was writing it, it really turned out to be more, everybody was pulling for them and everybody became an accomplices, wanting to see them thrive.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Right, but it didn't make sense. Sometimes the stories don't make sense, but I have all these, like the acquittal, the guilt trip, free from guilt, the confession, the guilty generation, Queen Surrender, all of those have names that, are like partners in crime. Don't know what the next book is. I had to think carefully about a title, but these are just some trademarks of the Jameson legacy. They know they're going to get history. My history is true, fictional characters, but I try to put in as much history as far as them being the 10th generation descendant. So long ago, one person read my book. She said she had never heard of Juneteenth. This was way before it became a holiday.
National.
Let's see, what is it? Woman Queen or Woman King?
The Woman King.
Yes, I talk about that group of ladies in my book. So I do my research even before it becomes popular. So people expect, the character of the Jameson, strong Black men, sassy, strong Black women, God in the middle. They expect the history. They expect the family game night. And so when I do promote it on social media, I always hashtag family saga because it is a family saga. And in this book, you see what real family means. When you need somebody, I got you, cuz. And what's important to you becomes important to them.
One thing I can say as I'm listening to you talk about these characters and these stories, you're very passionate. And that passion is reflected in the way that you write the stories. So, and I think because these characters have lasted or have stood the test of time, you feel like you really know these people and you can talk about them with such passion because you've gotten to know them. They're like a friend to you.
They are. And someone interviewed me and they said, well, which one would be your best friend? I said, that is such a hard question to answer. But there's Queen and then there's Queen Bee. So they would be my friends because not only are they sophisticated, they are the chocolate sisters that know they look good, they're confident, and they're the ones that would say, if they were unsaved, I'll cut you. You know, they are the ones, you know. And so, but they know what they want. And I always tell people there's no male bashing in my books. If you want male bashing, there's plenty of books on the shelves for that. I have been married for 41 years, so I know about good men, and I'm
Yes.
thankful. And so that's what I want to write about, are the good men that get overlooked. And if you're on Instagram, it's this group called something about the Black father game or something like that, but it shows what all these Black fathers do. But I think it's the Black dad game or something. And I follow them and they just show how passionate they are with their kids and the things that they would do for their kids, especially girl dads. You know, that's real popular, and it shows, you know, them dressing up, doing the cheers with their daughters. And so, you know, that's that positive image of our Black family that I try to put in my books. And so you're right, people do know my characters. If Park or any of his brothers would cheat on their wives, they're like, well, hold up, what? That's not the Park I know. I mean, they know their personalities.
Right.
You know, that they're like, Park would never do that. Park, you know. And so this week I was in my Facebook group and I had a research question and I had to premise it before you guys ask. I've been married 41 years, so this does not pertain to me, but I need to know about how long it takes to get a divorce. And people were like, uh-oh, who's getting a divorce? Please tell me it's none of the Jamesons. No, it's none of the Jamesons. But that's how invested they are. And I'm thankful that I can give people a positive image. Now, do I bring the drama? I want to say I bring real life. I
Yes.
bring real life.
Mhm.
And even in this book, I'm dealing with real issues. You know, they start on a college campus, they fall in love. You know, Pace, which is Park Jameson the eighth, Pace, you know, just doesn't take the job in St. Louis, but moves to Chicago where he know he can get a job as an engineer just to be able to nurture a relationship with his sister's best friend. Well, she couldn't get a job. She tried. And so when a job came, it wasn't in Chicago. And so she has to make a decision. She says, I'm too young to fall in love. You know, you got your job. This is my dream job. But you know how we have to say, be careful what you pray for? Because she prayed for this job. She thought this was her job. There were problems on that job. So, you know, I'm tackling, you know, be careful what you pray for, but I'm also tackling, you know, how do you depend on God in the darkest hours? Can you trust him? And he couldn't move so fast. And as I was writing this, something happened and it just came out of my head. And Pace said, he's a dead man. And so Harmony says, now, you know, let's back up. I don't want you to go to jail. I'm not talking about me. When my sister find out he's a dead man. So, you know, it was one of those things that are real funny, but it just shows how, you know, how passionate they are. And I thank God for giving me the stories and the message to encourage people. You know, as a Christian fiction author, I feel, you know, I have to pray. And I'm like, Lord, yes, I could write a romance story, but what's the message? So, you know, one person said, and this person was erotica queen, but, you know, I have friends with all type of authors for all kind of genres. But she said, yeah, I wrote my first Christian fiction. I said, oh my goodness. But then the Lord just let me know that I need to have an answer when people write that it's more than just clean books.
Mhm.
Because otherwise anyone can write, and you can write whatever you want. But the Lord just let me know I have to define what I write. And so that taught me a lesson that I can tell people I write to draw people to Christ.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you're already walking with Christ, I write to encourage you to stay with Christ. See,
Yes.
God challenged me on what I write.
That's a good mission.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
I really didn't know it at first. It just fell in. Yeah, I write Christian fiction, inspiration. But God, when she said that, and I don't deny anybody's faith walk,
Mhm.
but God just let me know you need to know what your mission statement is, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think that one good thing that I picked up from what you just said is that great books can have a strong message, and a great book does not have to have drama in the respect of the no good man or the cheating man or somebody stealing or somebody gets killed or all of these things. Sometimes it could just be real life and still be a great story. I remember when I wrote my first book, people were saying it's not enough drama in it. I'm like, everything doesn't have to be that way.
Right,
Sometimes people just want to read a good story, and that doesn't mean that you need to go over to the romance realm. You
right,
know, a romance story has a certain formula. But
right.
maybe if you don't want to follow that formula, you just want to tell a good story, you should be able to do that.
Right. Absolutely. And I agree. And I think that this is 24 and 22. When I came out of my prayer closet, God gave me the intercessor series. And this is on spiritual warfare.
Oh,
And this has the drama, and
did
I
not promise. Day she prayed,
she
and
prayed and days are coming.
days are coming.
There's another one, but that comes with the drama. God told me, okay, this book is where I depend on coming out the prayer closet for the Lord to tell me what's the next scene. And as an author, you got to have an outline. You need to know how this book is going to end. You need to know, you need to know, you need to know. Well, with this series, I didn't know. I mean, this book alone, and this came out earlier this year. While I was praying, God told me, I'm coming for the children. So it's not unusual for God to speak to me while I'm in prayer. And then he said, I'm coming for the children. So now I'm starting to freak out. And when he told me a third time, I said, okay, God, what does this mean? And I began to write the story. And so this series here has been today's drama. And people were looking for romance. And I just told them up front, it's not about the romance. This is a message that God has. And years ago, when I was in Sunday school, I mean, we're talking about maybe I had written 3 or 4 books. And my Sunday school teacher and I, we were talking about something, and he, a dynamic Sunday school teacher. And he said, well, you're a minister. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not a minister. I'm not, God called me to pray. God ain't called me to preach. I'm not a minister. And he said, well, your writing is a ministry. That went over my head because my concept of a minister was in the pulpit,
Right.
evangelizing. I didn't get it. But then as the years went on and I began to read reviews and people were telling me, I've opened up my Bible. I've been in this situation. That scripture really helped. I said, okay,
Now
now
you
I
get
get it. But I mean,
it.
at that time, I'm like, but with this book, to God be the glory, there are no bad reviews. This series, people are like, you know what? There used to be a time when God talked to me like that. I need to get my life together. Or you know what? I am all invested in this because of and that's when I can say, Lord, that's you. But with my romance, God gives me grace you know, to have the romance, but my romance readers, my beta reader, she's like, but I thought they were going to get together. And my developmental editor, I thought they were, I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all, this ain't romance. So, so I put them together at the end just to make my readers happy because the message had already been, the message had already been given in
Okay.
the books. But
Now those 3 books that you showed, are they like the Left Behind series? They
some
sound
people,
kind of
yeah,
like they
some
could
people
be.
have compared it to the Left Behind. And some people, I had a book club discussion this week, and they mentioned Frank Peretti. And I'm like, yeah. And it's so funny. They said, well, that got kind of scary. I said, imagine an author writing at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, is there normal? No, but it's not my message to give. Our world is jacked up. It is. And people wondering what is going on. What's the handwriting on the wall? So you know, that series is to try to give people comfort and say, here's how do you respond? You know, here's how do you respond to what's going on?
Yeah, that's something you mentioned also. Well, a couple things you mentioned. One, the page that you follow, the Black Dads. I follow one called the Black Couple Revolution.
Oh,
And they
I like that.
show some amazing, I mean, just, I don't know if everybody who posts a picture on that page has to be like dressed to the nines and made up, like perfect makeup. But you know, there's some good looking Black people in this world. They have the couples, and then they'll have some of them, it's just the couples. Sometimes it's the families, the couples
yeah,
and
see
kids.
families. Okay.
But
And that's
beautiful,
on
beautiful.
Instagram. I'm gonna
No, it's
follow.
on Facebook. This is on
Oh,
Facebook. It's
yeah, I
called the
like to
Black
follow.
Couple Revolution.
I like
Yeah.
to follow positive, just
Yeah.
positive
Yeah. And
stories.
it,
Yes.
you really, it brightens up my day, you know.
Well, there's a I'm really enjoying seeing it. There's a huge trend of couples celebrating each other on social media now. It's not about, yeah, there are still going to be the toxic people who are talking about using each other or who should pay for what and how
Oh,
much
yeah.
should the person make. There's going to be that faction, but there are so many couples who have TikToks and Instagrams together that are celebrating just being together, celebrating taking care of each other. There's one couple, their whole platform is about how they talk to each other like they're best friends. There's another couple who they do all kinds of cute things together. There was one where the girl was about to do her nails and he snatched her up and threw her, and then she landed in the pedicure chair, and he gave her his credit card. Said, "I don't know what you think this is." Little things like that.
You know, there's
Because
one on TikTok where
yeah.
the husband is the police officer.
Mhm.
Have you seen that?
I don't
And
think I've seen that
No.
one.
he shows up at the door with a warrant from the judge to search the house because I'm getting notifications there's a lot of Amazon packages being delivered and I need to search the premises. And I followed them and they are just so cute. And she was in her car driving and she gets pulled over and it's him. It's like, keep your hands on the wheel. My hands are on the wheel. And it's like, you left home. Well, why am I being stopped? Because you left home without giving me a kiss.
Oh,
And
okay.
so she reaches up, keep your hands on my wheel. And she reaches over and give him a kiss. And then he's like, yeah, I got my kiss, my dad. They are just so
Oh,
cute.
okay. Yeah,
Just so
it's good.
cute.
It's good to have some positivity
Yeah.
on social media because there's lots and lots of toxic stuff. And something else that you mentioned about being married for 41 years. I'm at 32, but um, I only have 2 novels. I have 15 books, but I only have 2 novels. And I tell people in my novels, it's the same couple, so it's a sequel. But
Okay.
the couples, they get along, they support each other, they believe in each other. They're all of the drama and the friction and all of it comes from the outside. And so they have to be together to fight that was
Right.
coming at them.
Right.
So I'm not gonna, I said it's enough books where the husband and wife don't get along and they're fighting and cheating and, you know, it's enough of those.
Right.
And it's drama. I know, I get it. And sometimes I read it's very entertaining, but I don't want to write that. So I hear you about that because, um, you know, it can, even fiction can inspire people.
You
This is
know,
why I write fiction, so I can inspire people.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't ever want to tell just my story. I don't think I even want to write my memoirs, but
right.
I
me
will
either.
take different aspects of my observations, different aspects of things that I've experienced, and I will build a story around
Right.
those
Mhm.
because I still want to inspire people with my fiction. I just don't want to come out and tell my story, so to speak.
Yeah,
But you know,
and
there's a
inform.
part of us in everything we write.
Yeah,
It is. People
absolutely.
ask me, "Is this character you? Is this character you?" Or and I say, "Well, there might be some aspects of my thinking in different characters, but
Mhm.
they are all fictional people.
Right.
They're made up. They're my part of my imagination, and I'm not fiction takes is like a boulder moving up a hill for me. So it takes me years to finish, but
Mm.
it's a solid story when it gets done.
Right. Well, you know, one thing I've learned, my Jamesons, they've become real people where people have asked me. But I
Mhm.
think anything you read can inspire you in a good way or in a bad way.
That's
And
true.
I just feel if you spend your money and you take your time, let me give you something that can help
Yes.
you.
Yes, it is such a disrespect to the people who spent their hard-earned money on your book and then you don't try to give them your best.
Something. Yes, something. And you know, if there's mistakes in my book or you don't like something, at least I know I've given you the best that I could. You
Hmm.
know,
Mhm.
and that's all you can
Yeah,
do is give your best.
that's
But God
true.
is taking me out of this romance realm with these spiritual books, and I have to listen to him because I was working on the one that comes out in 2025, and God has a hit list of these people that his intercessors have to find and bring them to salvation. So I'm out. I'm out of my realm where this couple is getting a divorce that I had to ask, you know, people in my Facebook group now, how long is the process for divorce? I mean, just out of my comfort zone. And so as a Christian author, I'm thankful that I can listen to him and say, Lord, what's the message? Because
Mhm.
you do want people to walk away saying, you know, that character that overcame drug addiction, or that character whose husband, or that character, I see my purpose. You know, I see my purpose.
Absolutely.
Well, we're at the end of our time. I do want to give you a little bit of feedback from people who are watching the interview. A
Oh,
couple of people just said where they were watching from. Good evening from California. Good
yay.
evening from Chicago. Um, one person said something about Grandma BB. Is that one of your characters? Um,
With the Stacey Adams shoes. Yes.
Grandma BB has her own fan club. That's what Angela Anderson said. So,
Oh, yeah.
so she's watching. And so, if you could let people know your website and how they can connect with you on social media.
Sure. My website is patsimmons.net. And while you're there, please sign up for my newsletter. You get a free ebook when you do. My social media, I am on TikTok, and I am feverishly trying to get to 1,000 followers so I can do live on TikTok. And I'm on TikTok under Christian author Pat Simmons without the S because I ran out of space. So they wouldn't let me put the S. So it's Christian author Pat Simmons, and S ain't there. On Instagram, I'm author Pat Simmons. On TikTok or X, I'm Pat Simmons. And on Facebook, I think my group is Pat Simmons Readers. But I'm everywhere, I guess you could say.
Okay. Well, Pat, it was good seeing you again. Hopefully, it
You
won't be 3
both.
years in between the next interview, but good luck with your book that's coming out next year. And
Thank
thanks for
you.
being a guest on the show.
Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate you.
We
Bye.
appreciate you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.